So I had a rough week with week number 35 on Zepbound, and I actually gained 0.8 pounds. If you want to see that video, just check out this link that's up here. But that rough week made me think about my why. I remember I did a video about how I was afraid to even start Zepbound, but then I thought about my why. Why did I actually get on it? And I think some of us always go back to the why in the hard times. And so that's what this video is about. So if you want to know my why and maybe similar to your why, then just keep on watching. So I am Jay. I am on a health journey using a compound terzepatide. This video is not about that. This video is about my why. Why? What was my road to Zepbound? My road to Zepbound started years ago. I can tell you that I never had a weight problem. There was no real issue with losing weight. I didn't have issues with activity or anything like that. And if we want to go back a little further, I was a elite athlete. I was a college athlete. I played semi-pro with my sport. And so I had no problem with being active. I can say back then, I was not a fan of working out. I wasn't a fan of the gym. I wasn't a fan of running, especially of running. I did what I had to do to get to what my passion was at the time, which was my sport. I can tell you that throughout college, I was able to eat what I wanted to eat as much as I wanted to, but college was my first time being exposed to unhealthy foods. I was able to make my own food choices, and so I went for sometimes what was available because as a student athlete, time is very limited, and then sometimes I made my pizza choices that I rarely got to do at home because that wasn't something that my family could afford with a lot of us in the home, or that was even offered to us on a regular basis. I didn't even have fast food when I grew up, and so I started eating. I can tell you, even though I was an elite athlete and very much on a strenuous schedule, I gained the freshman 15, probably 20, when I was in college. And because of the fact that I was so small, that weight was welcome for me. I was so small I couldn't even donate blood because I was just underneath the weight. So that weight was actually welcome to me. It made me fill out a little bit. It made me get some attention when I needed the attention, and it was actually welcome. So fast forward, I have never really been a foodie. I had my favorites, but not really a foodie. So after I gave birth to my first daughter, I lost all the weight in 2 weeks. All I did was get up every day, basically. I didn't work out. Once I was able to, I did walk a little bit, and the weight was gone. But then again, I was in my 20s. When I had my second child, I was in my 20s as well. I did not gain much weight with either pregnancy. I think both pregnancies I probably gained close to 20 pounds. In fact, I didn't have any morning sickness. I didn't have any illnesses. I didn't have any huge side effects. I didn't have any of those. I mean, not side effects. I'm sorry. I didn't have any of those pregnancy things. In fact, my pregnancies was amazing. My doctor actually had to tell me to eat and that I needed to gain weight for my babies. They were both over 8 pounds. So I had healthy babies. I had healthy pregnancies and I had natural deliveries, but I still did not gain a lot of weight. So my second baby, I lost the weight. It was not a big deal, but instead of it being, the 2 weeks, this time it probably took me 3 weeks. But to be perfectly honest, my stomach was flat within a couple of days. I do have to say I breastfed all of my children. I breastfed them for over a year, and maybe that was something that contributed to it. I am not sure, but I was in law enforcement at the time, and so I was very, very active when I returned to work. So I didn't really have an issue with weight. I had a little bit of baby fat on me, but I still went down to 140 pounds. And for reference, I am currently on my own scale, I'm 5'5". The doctor says I'm 5'4.5". At the time when I got out of college, I was actually 5'3". So I don't know what happened, but I was 5'3", and now I'm 5'4", 5'5". Let's just say 5'5". I'm 5'5", and so with me being 5'5" and 140 pounds, that still was normal for some people, but it was a little large for me. I still was in love with my curves. I was in love with my curves. And I want to be honest with saying that, maybe it's TMI, but me and my sisters at the time, our bra size was an A cup. So everything was kind of small. Everything, I was very petite and very small. I ended up being a B cup after my third child. Now, my third pregnancy is when I gained the majority of my weight. At that point, I went up to 183 pounds. When I went up to that, I started having swollen ankles. I was retaining fluid like crazy. Most of it was baby fat because I literally, with her, I was now in my 30s. And no, that's not true. I was 29, almost 30. And so with that, I was very upset with how large I was, even though I was mostly baby. And I was so determined that I had to get that off because I had never been that big in my life. And so I walked a little bit. I actually walked a lot. After I had her, I was home. I actually had her in May, which was the summer. And so I'm home with all the kids at this point, plus extra. And I went walking every morning. That was a way for her to get out. It was a way for me to stay active. I had always been very active. And so I went walking every single morning, and it did not come off in 2 weeks. And I was very upset, and I couldn't understand why, but it did not. It didn't come off in 2 weeks. It took me really, I want to say, maybe close to 4 or 5 months for this to come off. And it didn't even come off completely. I want to say, I went down to like 160, and I thought that I was 165. I thought I was humongous. I was not happy. My husband at the time was reassuring me, but I just felt so out of frame. I was embarrassed about my body. I started wearing large clothes, and I just did not like it, and I could not get this weight off. I just could not get this weight off. And even though the weight was coming off, my curves were starting to really curve. And I had other things that was just bothering me. My hair has always been super long, like the middle of my back. I've always had thin hair, so that wasn't an issue. But I started having like a thinning, like my edges was kind of thinning. I had split ends like crazy. It was just weird things that was happening with me at the time. My eyesight was getting crazy. And I was like, this is what 30 is like. But moving forward, I took hydroxycut. That was the first time that I had ever taken anything for a weight loss because I was like at a stall. I do have to say, although I was walking, when I went back to work, I stopped walking. I really wasn't working out that much. With my second child, when I had her, I would go walk and I lost the weight, but I actually started weight training with my second child. After I got off of work, I worked midnights. When I got off of work, I went straight to the gym. Before I picked her up from the daycare, I went straight to the gym. And I did that every single day. And I started to like the gym, but I also liked it because it was a group of us that was going. But when I had my third child, it became a little harder to just go to the gym because now I was in a different capacity, and I had two kids at home, and it wasn't as easy. So I did not do a lot of the gym. I tried, it did not work. So I took hydroxycut, and was it hot? No, that was not true. I took Metabolife. Everybody at the time was taking it, and I was like, hey, why not? I took it. I had the jitters like crazy. I was like, what is going on? But I was determined. I wanted to get it. I had her in May, and my birthday was April, and I wanted to get it off before my birthday. And that weight started coming off. I took the hydroxy cut for like a month and a half, almost 2 months, and the weight came off. And honey, for my birthday, you could tell that weight came off. I was dressed as if the weight came off. Like I was feeling myself, let me tell you. But I didn't really have a weight problem. Now, when I did have issues, or if I had a little PMS that was going on, was more bloating than anything. And I was 100% convinced that I couldn't get any bigger than 175. My weight, if depending on my stress level, I had issues going on in my marriage at the time between that year and several other years. Like literally, she was born, within for almost 7 years, 5, 6 years, I was going up and down. I would go between, 145 and 175, 145, 175. So I had size 10s, I had size 12s in my closet, and I probably had one size 14. I had two different sizes of uniforms. And I just would fluctuate. But in my mind, I was 100% sure I wouldn't go past 175. And when I did go to 175, I went to Weight Watchers. And I was like, this is not going to work for me. I cannot go past 175, and I would do Weight Watchers. And I go down some, maybe 10 pounds. And one time I did Jenny Craig. Jenny Craig really worked for a minute. I still never lost more than 10 pounds with Jenny Craig, and it was super expensive. It was like $150 a week. And that would be fine if I didn't have 3 kids, and 2 of which were in daycare. So I was just like, that's not going to happen for me. So I stopped doing Jenny Craig. I never went back to Weight Watchers. I didn't like the meetings that we had to go to. And Jenny Craig, I didn't like the in-office visits because I had things to do. I had 3 kids and a husband. So I stopped doing that as well, and I just decided to do it on my own. I started getting some tapes and putting the tapes in because at that time we didn't have YouTube, or I didn't know about YouTube. And I just did some tapes. I went walking with my mom, or I went and did things with my friends. We would take the kids to the park, and I would start doing things with them there. And the weight would come off. I really didn't do much of anything. What I did do is I changed my diet probably when my daughter was about 7. No, I lied. When she was about 5, I changed my diet. My sister had an aneurysm a couple of years before that, and my middle daughter was diagnosed with high cholesterol, and we were suggested to change our diets in the house. And so I stopped all the Jenny Craig and all the other stuff, and if she was going to do it, we were all going to do it. So we all went on a strict diet. I started buying things that was healthier for her, and then I lost the majority of my weight. All of a sudden, when she started losing weight and started doing well, I went back to cooking, and we were eating on the run. And so sometimes we'll grab some fast food here, and then some days I would not eat. And this is around the time that I stopped eating properly. I would maybe eat once a day, and that once a day just had the weight coming on. So I actually found out from my best friend about a weight loss doctor, and I was like, okay, let me try the weight loss doctor. I went to the weight loss doctor. I got a B12 shot, which was amazing. I didn't like the shot, but it was amazing. I had energy out the whatever. I was cleaning like crazy. I was running. I wasn't tired or anything, but it did create a little sleep problem because I wasn't tired. And he also gave me phentermine. That was the first time I had ever been introduced to phentermine. I didn't know what it was. It gave me the jitters when I started taking it. He gave me instructions, and I went to him once a month. But by the second month, I had already lost 40 pounds. And the weight just fell off. I had so much energy, I couldn't sit down. I was cleaning this, I was washing the car, I was cutting the grass. When the kids were at practice, because now at this point all of them were at practice, I was walking, I was doing anything. I was coaching. I just could not stop. I had energy for days. I went back to him just for the shot because I no longer needed the medication. I took the medication for 3 months because I wanted to maintain the weight. So I didn't take it every day. I would take it every other day, and then I'll have 2 days in between, things like that. And I just stopped because what was the point of paying for a medication that I really didn't need? And I kept that weight off for over 4.5 years. I gained weight when I was going through my separation and my divorce. I gained weight. When I gained this weight, it was a lot of late night snacking, eating whenever I could, just emotional eating. Emotional eating. I actually went back up to 180, and that was somewhere I thought I would never go. I went back up to 180. So now I went back to this doctor who is now fully blind, but I didn't care. His daughter was there. She gave me the shot. She put his hand on top of my heart, and he checked out my heart. And I was like, that's all I need is it's medication. I lost 25 pounds, and I said, okay, I really don't want to go back. I don't want to put my body through that. I kind of stopped there, and I wanted to try it on my own. Naturally, started with my nutritionist. With that, I started doing intermittent fasting, which did absolutely nothing for me, but I still do it to this day. Go figure. That's been 15 years ago. I still do it to this day. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's been about 15 years ago. And then I also I started doing some more walking, but more at the job. And with that, I went from that. I waited a couple of years, and then I started doing keto. And I did that with my daughter. Keto was better than the B12 shot. The energy was through the roof, but it was better than anything. I felt amazing. I prepared my meals. I did a lot of meal prep, which prepped me for today. Everything was great. I lost 25 pounds on that. So now I was on my way, right? I'm on my way to where I need to be because, of course, I had gained a couple pounds back. The problem was I was making sure that I went to the doctor, same as I'm doing right now, and continue to get checked out throughout this process. And my cholesterol was just going through the roof. My mom has heart disease, so she had been diagnosed with heart disease at one point, and so I didn't want my cholesterol to go that high, and I decided to stop keto. It was a hard decision because that just made me gain more weight. I didn't really gain a lot initially, but I did gain a little weight. When I gained weight, I probably gained about maybe 5 to 10 pounds. I then had a hysterectomy in 2019. That really threw off my body. It threw off my body, and before I was going back to work, I had already gained like 7 pounds. I was very disappointed at that point because I was thinking that the hysterectomy would help me with my female issues. I would never think that it would add to my weight and add to the issues that I was having, but it did. And then I had a very emotional, mental, and traumatic situation that occurred in our family that I still have yet to recover from. And my weight just went crazy. So my highest weight was between 224 and 226. Either way, did not, I was so into my depression and emotions and grief and everything that I honestly didn't really notice it. I wasn't out of breath. I noticed that I had to just buy bigger pants and then go buy other bigger pants. And, when I got to a 16, I was like, I don't think I've ever worn a 16 before, but okay. And then, I hold the pants up and I'm like, these look kind of bigger than what I know. Do I really wear a 16? Like, yeah, you really wear a 16. And then I had to go buy a size 18 pants. And that's when I decided I have to do something. So I actually started working from home. I was working from home at the time. And I went and said, okay, we had a walking challenge at work, and I will go walk 2 miles a day during my break. And I know that's not a real break, but I did it. I did it every morning from 7 o'clock to 7:30. I walked, and I was trying to walk and work my way up to a run. I started doing that. I'm not a runner. I said that from the beginning. But I started doing that, and my knees started hurting. They just really started just like throbbing and sharp pains and things like that. So I went over and started doing weight training. And I'm doing some weight training, and my knees are hurting. I decided to go see an orthopedic doctor because I didn't want to hurt myself while trying to get better. And not to mention that I did this for about 5 months and I didn't lose 1 pound. Not 1 pound. I can tell you my nutrition sucked. I honestly was eating once a day. My lunch I would eat at 2 o'clock. If I had breakfast, it was probably oatmeal because I was so busy. I was so busy, and I got off work at 2 o'clock, and I was eating lunch at 2 o'clock. And then I would eat dinner, and it would be like a snack, and I gotta go. My son has this, and I gotta run on to that. And I just didn't. I was not eating properly, and I didn't lose 1 pound. And in fact, I probably gained a pound and went back to that one thing. And I was so frustrated, and I wanted to push myself even more, but I got more and more discouraged. And so I went to the orthopedic doctor, and he literally just replicated what I was told about maybe 15 years before that, was that my body frame is petite and my body frame is very small. And if I do not get this weight off of me, then I'm probably going to need double knee replacement. And it was hard to hear that because the last time I heard that, I didn't go back to the doctor. But this time, I am now 50 pounds more than I was when I went to the first doctor. So if he told me that 50 pounds before, imagine what this doctor is thinking now, right? And he was very nice with it. He did my x-rays, and he was sweet about what he said, but he was telling me what I already knew. And so he told me that I'm not allowed to do any running. In fact, he didn't really want me to do much walking. He wanted me to focus on my nutrition, and he definitely did not want me to do weight training on my knees because it was causing too much damage on my knees. So yes, I don't listen. I am on this channel, and I am doing weight training, and I am walking. I have not been running. I'm doing everything he told me not to do, but I have learned where I need to stop. So there are days that I don't work out, especially on my legs, but I feel like sometimes that's an excuse. I can do more and I can do better. And so I do push myself. And sometimes I am in pain for a couple of days, and then I just try to switch over and do something else. And I do realize when people give advice that, hey, you need to go work out, you need to do this. But I know what the doctor said, and I know why he said it, and I don't want to hurt myself even more. I do know that I have to get this weight off, not because I want to look good, because I'm going to look good regardless. It's because of not just my health and my inflammation, but it's also because of my knees. It's very important. So when he said that to me, I continued on my track of just walking, 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 walking. I didn't really do any more of the running. I just did it every day, and I still didn't lose any weight. Fast forward, at this time, this was 2022. So I fast forward to 2023, 24. I'm sorry. Fast forward to 2024. I decide that I'm going to another weight doctor because my weight is not going anywhere. I'm feeling more and more uncomfortable. Even in my marriage, I'm doing things that's probably not the sexiest, and I just didn't feel like myself. So I went to another weight doctor. This weight doctor, I believe we had a huge language barrier, very big language barrier. Nothing wrong with this doctor. I love him, great personality, whatever he was saying. But he said, oh, you should try semaglutide. I don't know what that is. I had never really heard of what that was, but he decided to put me on that and phentermine at the same time. And I said, okay, I need to get this weight off. Okay. So I get the phentermine and I take that, and then the nurse comes in and she gives me a shot of semaglutide. What they don't tell me is that semaglutide is something that has to be taken weekly, that I have to return every week and get this medication. I did not know that. I went back every month because I needed my prescription for my phentermine, and I would get the shot. And they still didn't tell me that I had to come there every week for this shot. So I didn't know exactly what it was. I was just trusting the doctor. When I went to my primary doctor, she said, "You're taking both? Like, why would you do that?" I was like, "I don't know. I already didn't have an appetite. I've been having issues for years with having no appetite. So now this is making me have none at all." And my nutritionist was trying to help me to trick myself into eating something because I've been going years with not eating properly. So I didn't realize that the shot was for people to not have an appetite. But when I did, I was like, okay, yeah, I may not want to do this. So she told me to just do the phentermine again. I did the phentermine again. I started losing weight. When I got down to 199, so now I've lost almost 30 pounds. It was amazing that I felt so much better. I'm able to move a little bit more. Still can't cross my legs, but I was still able to move a little bit more. I was feeling a lot better about myself. And now we're from August of 2024, and we move forward to August of 2025. I had the prescription for phentermine. I would take phentermine, but I'm going to be honest, I didn't do the semaglutide shot. And so my husband and I lied, this is July of 2025. Me and my husband and I decided, okay, we'll do it, and we're going to do it right this time. We're going to pay for it, and we'll do it right, because now I'm actually down close to 50 pounds. I'm at 180. When I decided to do that, I take the shot of semaglutide along with my husband, and I lost not 1 pound, nothing. So I go back to my doctor and I said, not the weight loss doctor, my doctor. And she said, well, you know that if you're getting it in the doctor's office, more than likely it is a compound. I said, well, what's a compound? And she's like, it's mixed with something and you don't know what it is. And that's why it may not be working for you. Not only did I not lose a pound, but my husband didn't lose not 1 pound. He was super discouraged because he was actually taking that and a B12 shot. And was super discouraged. I decided, let me go take the B12 shot. Maybe that'll help with my metabolism. I did that and nothing. I lost nothing. In fact, I think I gained 2 pounds and I probably went back to the same thing. And now I'm gaining weight. And I was like, no, this is not going to happen. So now we're at August of 2024, and my husband and I have been doing this for a month. And I said, okay, let's just try this again. And let's just work on just working out and everything again. Now we get to September and I look at it and I'm like, honey, like I've literally gained 12 pounds. I worked so hard to get this weight off, and working out. Yes, I was taking phentermine, but I was actually working with my nutritionist and getting everything together. And I still, the weight, I don't understand. I did not know. So that's when I found out that I had severe inflammation. And I knew that I had been suffering from this since 2010, but no doctor would listen to me. And now finally my doctor was like, let's do a lot of tests because your inflammation is holding your weight. So I'm like, why did I go through all this for all this time? So I went through all the tests that I could. I did all of that at 2025, and then November she decided, listen, you're doing great. You're on LASIK now, and I need you to go ahead and try Zepbound. And I was saying, you gotta be crazy, because I just did the semaglutide and they mixed it with something, and I gained weight, didn't lose anything, and how is this gonna work? And I made my video about why I don't think it's a good idea for me. I didn't tell the history of why I really felt like that, but it was because of the road that I traveled to get to Zepbound. And the same way that I gave everything else an opportunity to work, I had to put on my big girl panties and give it an opportunity to work, because now we're with my primary, and I don't know if it's right or wrong, but I'm feeling like if I'm still under their care and I'm doing what I need to do, that they will catch anything that could be going wrong. And she just told me the only way that she would prescribe it to me is if I stopped phentermine. She did not feel that it was appropriate to take them both together. And I was like, okay, I don't have a problem with stopping phentermine because I was paying for that as well. So what's the point of me paying for both? And so she was saying, yeah, I will prescribe it if you don't take it. And she actually wrote that in my chart. So that is how I ended up getting to Zepbound. So some people have their own stories and they have their own reasons. Not all people or all of us that are using Zepbound have the same story. And some people can lose weight easy. And maybe everything that I've done over this time of not having a weight problem to inflammation that then caused the weight problem. Maybe that's why my weight loss is slower than most. I really don't know. But I want to thank you guys. I want to thank you if you made it to the end of this video. Please, in the bottom, put in your comments. Let me know how you got to Zepbound. How did you get here? What did you guys do before you got on Zepbound? Was it easy for you to lose weight at one point? Or were you always a larger size and you just didn't, take things seriously? Everyone's weight is different. Where, did you go through something and now your weight is a little bit harder, or your medication that keeps your weight up and now you have to go through to Zepbound? I don't know, but I will tell you that since I started a new series about people, not a new series, but as I started something new with my videos of the people that are positively supporting and helping me, I thank you. I'm going to keep thanking you all during every video. I'm going to post the comment over here of another person that sent me a comment of positivity and someone that I look back to and like, thank you so much. And this particular person also has a YouTube channel, and she also is on a compound tirzepatide. And so I want you to support her. Go on there and watch her videos and like and subscribe, because she took the time out to do it for me. So don't forget. And again, I want to say thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for coming and watching my video. And I will see you on the next one. Bye.